Hey everyone, this is Daniel from PhoneArena with the Sony Xperia S. That's the first Sony-only handset the company made after it divorced Ericsson recently. It is also the first with the so-called iconic identity design of the new Xperia NXT line, and the first for Sony with a multi-core chipset and HD display. Well, the phone looks like a boxy slab, as you can see, especially our black review version. There's also a white one. Yet it weighs close to what the iPhone 4S weighs, which is much smaller, and when picked provides a firm grip precisely because of the sharp edges. It still offers this slightly curved back of the former Xperias for added grip comfort, but the matte plastic on the back is a bit slippery, so the phone not being overly thin as some other anorexic handsets out there helps to grip it tight. Sony has gone with this narrower but more elongated design that first appeared in the Xperia Arc, and which we very much appreciate, as it allows your thumb to reach almost everywhere on the screen, despite the 4.3-inch size. We had a very ho-hum experience with these capacitive buttons here, which are just these dots that you can see. The icons below just light up inside the illuminated white strip here underneath the display, but the actual capacitive buttons are the three small dots, which are hard to spot and not very responsive. So we found ourselves tapping 2 or 3 times very often until we hit the correct capacitive navigational button, and that's the biggest gripe with the design we have. There is no arguing though that this transparent illuminated strip here at the bottom is a thing of beauty, very distinguishing feature for the new Xperia NXT line. It also houses the antenna components, says Sony, for better reception. And as you can see, lights up beautifully when you press the capacitive keys, and also during some events. Sony says that it actually divides the screen part, emphasizes this beautiful HD display with the mobile Bravia engine. The LCD screen is very bright with popping colors and viewing angles that barely degrade up to 170 degrees. And Sony has included its mobile Bravia engine that boosts colors and contrast while watching media, which can also be turned off if you don't like it. The touch layer is very responsive and registers even the slightest finger tap. Brightness of the screen is also above average, so outside visibility will only be an issue if the sun shines directly onto the display. We're still taken aback by such high pixel density. Despite already reviewing a few phones with HD displays, the amount of detail still manages to wow us. Maybe it's because in the Sony Xperia S we have 342 ppi pixel density, one of the highest of all HD mobile screens, simply because most others are bigger, and this one is 4.3-inch. But these sweet 720 by 1280 pixels make for crisp text, no icon jaggies, great readability even on zoomed out websites. HD displays are definitely the way to go, and the Xperia S has a very good one. Looking around the sides, we barely notice any buttons and ports since they're in the color of the chassis, and the micro USB and micro HDMI ports are covered with protective flaps in the same color. These flaps were another small gripe we have with the design. They are pretty hard to pry open, and also as hard to push back in, but we suppose they'll break in with time. Otherwise we have this lock power button here, as well as the volume rocker on the right and the camera key. Very responsive with nice tactile feedback. Actually, the greatest feature of the phone here is that from sleep mode, with the screen turned off and locked, you can take a picture for a little bit over a second, as you can see, by pressing the camera key. Let's do it again. The phone is locked with the screen turned off. You spot something worth taking a picture of, you take out the phone, press the camera key, and here you go. Sony says it takes about a second, a bit over a second, and we tend to agree. It's definitely very fast. Well, maybe 2 seconds if it's a bit darker, but still this is as fast as it can be, and a wonderful achievement from Sony's camera engineers. The UXP Next interface from Next User Experience boasts some visual and functionality changes from the predecessor. The home screens now have a new colorful flow background that you can see here, which can be in different colors and is basically just a glorified live wallpaper that takes advantage of the HD screen and the powerful processor. The coloring scheme now is not entirely blue by default, as there's a nice gray canvas background when you enter the default apps with these neon blue highlights, fonts and elements, which almost fooled us that the phone is running Android ICS. The widgets are now transparent gray backgrounds as well, but there are hardly any additional widgets compared to with the previous UX interface. The biggest novelty is this Recommender app, which has its own widget listing curated apps to check out, as well as what your social networking buddies are listening to, watching or downloading from Android market. This connectivity switch here has been given an overhaul. Now it rotates and becomes bigger, so it's easier to turn on and off radios as needed. And there's another new widget, the power saver one here. Here you can program the power saver mode when it should kick in and what reading of the battery. Now it's 25%. Or you can set up a timer, so it goes on when you go to bed, for example, and the power saver switches off when you wake up. There's nothing new here in the main menu, the same nice transparent page backgrounds and pretty app icons that can be arranged alphabetically by the most used and so on. Let's check out the on-screen keyboard. It's well spaced out here in portrait mode, but we found out that the keys are too small for our fat fingers, so we were pressing very often the wrong button, so we usually turned it in landscape mode and had no problems typing quickly on the 4.3-inch display. The browser on the Xperia S is a delight to use, not only because of the powerful dual-core chipset, which renders pages and scripts very well, including Adobe Flash. It has Adobe Flash Player 11 installed right out of the box. You can run videos without a problem within the browser, see Adobe Flash ads and so on. But also the browser is so good because of this stunning pixel density of the display. As you can see, even if we zoom in completely, the letters still stay very smooth. There are no jaggies or anything, making text very easy to read in the browser. We also have an NFC chip on the Xperia S, which allows you to exchange browser links by bumping it into other phones from the Xperia line with NFC. Overall, great experience browsing on the Sony Xperia S. Most of the default apps haven't changed, save for this gray background that we talked about. Looks great in the calendar, for example, as well. Great coloring scheme. This neon blue really pops up when you need to add something. Otherwise, it's the default gingerbread calendar. The music player has a very minimalistic interface now. We still have cover flow-like album art, but when we enter the My Music tab, as you can see, it's very Metro style, like taken directly from Windows Phone. Even the back button is the same, or very similar. Let's run a track. The loudspeaker is very strong and very clear in the best traditions of the Xperia line, and there's no teeny sound as is the case so often with smartphones. The music player widget is minimalistic here on the lock screen as well, allows you to quickly change the song, pause, and so on and so forth. great music player. There's also a landscape mode. Cover flow works here as well, and you can add a number of equalizer preset modes as well. And there's the Sony X Loud technology, which boosts the bass sound basically. The default video player on the Xperia S played all the MPEG-4 files that we threw at it up to 1080p definition. It does play DivX X30 files, but in software mode, so they look pixelated. For anything hardware accelerated, you have to download a player off Android Market, and the player is pretty bland in terms of interface, as you can see, only the basic playback functions. The only settings you can access through its interface are the display settings here and the video editor, which however doesn't work with full HD videos, as you can see here, the warning. It only allows basic trimming and some frame inserting with 720p videos and below. The mobile Bravia engine is on now, contrast is up and brightness while watching video, and it looks pretty. The gallery, which otherwise is the default gingerbread gallery, has a 3D section where the 3D panorama modes are the simple sweep panorama that you take, and it stitches on the phone, but you can only see it in 3D if you hook up the phone to a Sony 3D TV via the HDMI port, and that's what it's warning us here. Actually, the other panorama mode, which is sweep multi-angle and comes directly from Sony's CyberShot digital cameras, can be previewed directly on the Xperia S screen. As you can see, the waves are moving, seagulls are flying, and so on. You don't need to hook the phone up to a 3D TV to enjoy a little bit of stereoscopic effect here. The greatest thing about the Xperia S 12 megapixel camera is how quickly it can be accessed. There's this quick launch option here in the camera settings, and it's by default launching capture, meaning that from sleep mode with screen locked and off, you can take a picture within a little bit over a second when you press the camera key. A very commendable achievement, which makes the Xperia S the fastest smartphone camera, period. Most of the time you'll be using the automatic mode, which works well, but also there are several scene modes. The interface is basically identical with the one on the Xperia Arc S, with the addition of this panorama mode called Sweep Multi-Angle here. You press the shutter key and then slowly pan the camera left and right, up and down, depending on the direction you've chosen. And then the 3D multi-angle panorama can be previewed on the phone screen itself with nice stereoscopic effect, instead of having it to be hooked to a 3D TV made by Sony. And the pictures themselves are nothing to sniff at as well. They turned out sharp with true colors, very good amount of detail, and accurate white balance. The 1080p video capture is very smooth with 30 frames per second average, and the videos exhibit a lot of detail, accurate colors, and clear sound. The nighttime videos were rather noisy with blown highlights, which tends to be the problem with most phone camera sensors now. Indoors, the Xperia S tended to turn the shots a bit softer and yellowish when the light went down, and added some noise in low light situations as well, but nothing out of the ordinary for such conditions happened actually. When the light was enough, indoor shots and videos turned sharp with good colors and enough detail, and the LED flash did a decent job from about 5 feet distance. Now, what can we say in the end but to acknowledge that Sony has hit the nail on the head with the Xperia S? From the characteristic design decisions like the transparent illuminated strip here beneath the screen, through an amazing HD display, to the ultra-fast camera, the first Sony-only handset is a delight. Given the above advantages, beefs that we'd consider a nuisance in other handsets, like these fussy capacitive buttons here and the sealed battery compartment, seem minor. You can tap the capacitive keys one more time. If you can dot the I the first time, the battery holds well, so no need to swap with others. But you can't get such a fast and capable camera or display as detailed on most phones. We're curious what will the quad cores bring when they come in terms of speed and camera shenanigans, like the HTC image chip, for example. But for now, the Xperia S alternatives with such a fast and quality camera plus a high density display aren't many. Actually, only the iPhone 4S can measure up to the camera speed and no hassle great results of the 12 megapixel XMOR sensor here on the back. But Sony's phone offers that sweet quick launch mode that the iPhone 4S can't emulate for now. Apple's Retina Display also has pixel density close to the one on the Xperia S, but the 4.3-incher dwarfs it, and it would be preferable for Android's big screen lovers, or not so if you have smaller hands, or if you prefer the App Store, of course. On the Android front, you can check out the LG Nitro HD, LG Optimus LT, which also has a great HD display and 8 megapixel camera, or the HTC Resound with Beats audio. The Galaxy S2 with its Super AMOLED display has a slower to react camera, but its night shots actually measure the light better than Sony's phone. We only wish the Xperia S shipped with ice cream sandwich out of the box, otherwise it proves that you can come late to the multi-core party and still be more capable than most. This was a video review of the Sony Xperia S from PhoneArena. For more information about this and other handsets, you can visit us at phonearena.com. Thanks for watching.